So I'm going to keep on going through the examples to part two, right? So now we've got this kind of cube and stuff, or cylinder. We've got that. One of the things is like, what do you do once you have this blueprint? Well, then you can add in more of these cylinders here, and have a bunch of them start moving around, right? And they'll all be using kind of the same code. So it's kind of, I think it's kind of worth just placing a couple of them in there just to see how you can kind of get like a population of them going. And then they all kind of start bouncing around because of that z-axis thing, and then they all scooch back towards the wall. So, pretty cool. All right. Yeah. So I think one thing that I forgot to do here was to do the collisions. So that's the next step, right? So now we've got these kind of like movement things, but we want to have some interaction with our critters here. So for that thing, one of the first things they kind of want you to look through is the first person character blueprint. And this is a pretty big blueprint that's kind of already exists for just the character itself. And there's like so many different pieces to this thing. So one is like there's different inputs. So one is for like if you're using like a controller, like how to get the input to your character. The other is like if you're using like a keyboard, how do you do that? And then the other thing is like, how do you do mouse input? And so all of these different things are like controlling the different types of movement. And what we're going to want to do is put together like a sprint function and I forgot what the other one was. Zoom, yeah, for like a sniper kind of situation. So one of the weirder parts, I think, is that in order to add like extra actions, you have to go all the way into project settings to get into it. And that kind of like tripped me up for a little while. But you have to go all the way into the engine and go down to the input tab under project settings. And then that allows you to come up with new sorts of like action mappings and like axis mappings for your motion. And so the first step to do like sprinting is we just add this new action mapping. We call it sprint. Then we pick out what key we want to use. So we're going to go under keyboard, and we want to use left shift here. So we do a left shift. Put that down, and now we've got a sprint. And then if we want to add like the second thing for a zoom, in the book they kind of go with like right click, but since I'm just using a trackpad, that's kind of hard to do sometimes. So I'm just going to use a left control to put that zoom functionality in. So we got those two things, and then we just close out of the project settings. And then the next step is to try and figure out, how do we put these into our blueprint, right? So like we kind of do with everything, we right click in the space and type in sprint. Now we get this input action event. We can do things like change the speed here. So this is kind of another aspect that was kind of tripped me up and is probably worth like remembering. So here you've got all these different things for your first person character, and then there's this character movement aspect. So we're going to drag that in here, and we're also going to double click on that to kind of activate that. And when you do the viewport on the character, you get this kind of weird person and camera sort of deal, right? So we go here under event, and where is this thing? It's like, go under this, and then you got your character movement, and then I think we just look for get max speed. Yeah. So there we go. And that's kind of linked to a character movement there. Here, if you drag this off, we're going to do set max speed. Set max walk speed. We're going to do this one to our sprint speed. So we'll choose something like really big, like 2400. We'll do another one here, set sprint speed. Walk speed here. Whenever we're not sprinting, we'll set that at like 300. So when we press, we do that. When we release, we do that. And that kind of sets you up with the full range of sprint actions. Highlight, create comment.
Did you create a speed variable, or did you find it?
So it existed. So it's inside this character movement class. There's a max walk speed over here. And so the way I did it, I just did right click and I searched for set max walk speed. I think you can also find the variables somewhere. But I just saw it in this details panel and then used the search to find it. And you can do different things with these variables too. One time I forgot to like set the walk speed again. So like I can only sprint basically. Because as soon as I let go of the sprint key, it would like reduce my speed to 0. So that was kind of interesting. It's more like a break in that case. Yeah, there's different things you can do. That make that interesting. But we'll change that back up to 300. Cool. I think I'm going to skip over the zoom functionality and do that. One thing that I forgot to go through before though was the event hit sort of module on the actual cylinder target blueprint. So we did this kind of event graph for the cylinder like movement, but we didn't actually do the hit reactiveness. So I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to go under this location vector. So we've gotten back into the cylinder target blueprint by either just having had it open before or going through our content browser to pull it up. And we're going to do the hit event. So there's the hit event. And what we're going to do here is we want to have the hit set the material. So we're going to do set material. And we're going to click on that. There we go. And we're going to switch up the material. We have it right now defaulting to kind of the wooden material. I'm going to change it to marble whenever you hit it. Don't know why that makes sense, but it does to me. So you can kind of pick a material there, and then we're going to compile it. And here it's got like an error. So this was kind of something that must have changed, I think, between that. So I'm going to do this to a static mesh component here for the target. And then that seems to resolve the errors in compilation. So we do that. And whenever that happens, hit play. And what's kind of weird about this is that kind of as soon as it hits any other object, it will change to that marble. So now we have all these bouncing marble tubes. I'm gonna do a play again. So one of the issues is that, if we collide with these things, they change colors, but we only want it to happen whenever it gets shot. There could be a pretty interesting Medusa game or something with like gazes, and every time you look at the thing it does that. But the way you do this, where it only happens whenever you have a projectile, is that you have to have the other output pin here switch to add projectile motion component, and that will give you your ability to only do that on a bullet. So I'm going to disconnect that one by command clicking or alt clicking on it, and then here we're going to add this projectile moment to there. So there you go. That's kind of how we change it along so that we only set the material whenever it's being shot. Well, that's weird. We have to draw the event hit into that as well. So there we go. Compile the blueprint, play the game. And it no longer reacts whenever well, that's weird. For some reason, it's still changing on both.
Like when you shoot one, they will change?
So when you shoot one, they change, which is what's expected, but also when you just run into it.
Oh, yeah. I had this problem too. I did fix it. I forgot what I did though.
I mean, it says in the book.
Yeah, it does say in the book.
Yeah.
I was having an issue too. I did fix it. I forgot what I did.
It's the mobility setting. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's been a few weeks.
Yeah. So, yeah. Here, click on that. Mobility. Movable. Movable. Then at the cylinder target, we do that, we click on that, and then under mobility, we also have move. Collisions, block all dynamic. There we go. Recompile and play. Cool. All right. So I'm going to kind of skip around a little bit to instead of implementing the zoom and the projectile speed and the other things in the second chapter. Gonna skip to add in some sound and particle effects, and then work on the screen UI elements, because I think the sound and particle effects are kind of like one of the more important pieces of the whole thing. So, yeah. So under the blueprint, we're going to go back to the event graph. And here we're going to just group these real quick to, well, I'll just leave that because we're going to be working with this set. So one of the things we want to do here is create a new variable to capture whether or not the thing's ready to explode. So we're going to create a new variable here. We're going to do a Boolean type. We're going to call it primed. And we're going to have an instance editable. And we're going to drag it into here and get primed. We're going to set up a we're going to keep the set material thing going over here, but we're going to have it kick into effect kind of after doing our check here. So here we're going to add a new node. We're going to look for the branch for our flow control. That'll go ahead and loop there on true. Set material. So here, if it's not primed, we want it to not explode. So we're going to remove that link from the true. We're going to link the false to change the material. So there we go. And then we're going to create our brand new explosion code. So if the thing has been hit once, then, or if the thing has not been hit before, we want to change the material type, and we want to also set the primed value to true. So here we're going to drag out a new node. We're going to do set primed there, and we want to set it to yes. So that's one way you can do it. You can also do more than one action outside of a single branch if it's easier to kind of like understand sometimes. So like you could drag this false all the way over here to the set, and then we would have that kind of branching behavior. Oh, no, you can't do that. Never mind. Sorry. I was in the wrong place. So yeah, so you got to chain these together. So that to that, that to that. So now we've got our new set material branch of the code here, all kind of organized. But if it's already primed, then we want it to explode. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to play the sound of the explosion. So we're going to do play sound at location. We're going to pick a sound. We're going to do the explosion 1 there to do that. And then we need to get the current location for this hit. So what we do is we look over here back where we had our event hit. There's a location there, and we can drag that over and link it up to this play sound at location box. At this point, like I start getting kind of like lost in some of the lines, but it works out. So we go from there. We get that pin, and then the next thing we want to do is to actually create some visual effect that an explosion happened. So we do spawn emitter at location, and what that does is it gives us a emitter here. We can pick out which one we want to do for that. There's all kinds of different like particles. I'm going to do the explosion because that just makes sense. And then we can go back to that hit location, drag the same thing over to the location here, and now we're all set in the same way. And then the final thing to do is to destroy the actual actor that's happening with all of this. So we're going to draw this spawn emitter at location. We're going to look up the destroy actor function. That will just destroy the object that's here, and we're going to compile all that. So compile it, we get a green check mark, and now we've got quite a bit more code going on here. So we're going to play the game, go in here, click the thing, and if you shoot it twice, it does a little explosion. Yeah. So that's kind of a whole way to create some effects. It's kind of a complicated blueprint in that we've got like a lot of lines for these locations and things like that. We've got these materials coming out, just all kinds of different things happening within this blueprint. But it makes some pretty cool functionality. So yeah, I'm gonna do this whole thing. I'm gonna create a comment for it. I'm gonna call it, change material and explode. Cool. Yeah, and I think that's kind of like the core of like thinking about how these things work, right? Is like, how do you make like state and stuff like that? How do you make like updates to where the objects are? How do you do updates to like player state versus the object state and things like that? So yeah, I think that's pretty solid. Cool. So now I think what we'll do is get into some of the like heads up display stuff that's new, I think, to everyone.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Is this a helpful little refresh?
Yeah, especially
Yeah.
because some of the event graph stuff trips me up, so it's
Yeah.
good to be able to go back and just like follow along.
Yeah, for sure. And I think now we've got some pretty solid sense of this. I really like the blueprints for kind of seeing how things connect together.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. And like once we get into the AI, these will be kind of pretty big.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I don't know, my perception of like game development before this class was like just like lines of code, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see that you kind of go in there and you are like wiring stuff together.
Yeah, it's really it's a lot of tweaking, like every little variable. So yeah, cool. So yeah, I think we'll dive into some UI stuff. So this is kind of where I'm least certain about where the Unreal 5 stuff comes in. I'm not sure if like it might just have the same things, but I haven't really played around with it much in Unreal 5. So yeah. So the first thing that we want to get into here is we want to start creating a couple more variables to capture different elements of the character state for our heads up display. So what we want to do is first open up the editor. You're in here. Go down to your content browser. You're in the first person blueprint. Open the blueprints, open the first person character. So this is where we did the sprinting again, right? And over here we've got our variables and all of that, and we want to create a new variable for health. So we'll add a variable here. We're going to choose a float representation for this health. There, we're going to call this player health, just so that we're kind of aware of which one's going on. We're going to make it instance editable. So we'll have to do that. And then there's a couple other things that we want to add. So we want to add stamina to this character. So stamina just being kind of your level of energy, right? So we add another variable. This one's also going to be a float. Okay. And then then we've always got to check this like instance editable so that we can get to that. We're going to create another new variable here for player ammo. This one we're going to set as an integer. Like, you don't really go and shoot like half a shell at once. So we create that. This one's also instance editable. And then we're going to create one more variable for target kill count. So this one's also going to be a integer.
What was the last two variables?
Player health, player stamina, current ammo, and target kill count.
Sorry, what's that?
Health,
That's it. So the very last one?
stamina, and ammo.
Oh.
Yeah.
The three?
Yeah, and then there's a fourth one, the kill count. And when you're done, you should have all four of these. Yeah. So one of the weirder things I think is that you have to compile it first after you create all these things, and only then can you set like default values. So we're going to set the default value for health to 1, for stamina to 1, for ammo we're going to set it up to 30, and then for the count to 0. So we're going to have a bunch of defaults set up there. So the reason why we've got health and stamina as being 1.0 is that we're going to show the range for those things in like 100%, like as like a bar graph basically. And so that's what we got to do for that. So you won't be able to edit the default values until you compile. And so you hit compile once, and then you can add those default values in. All right. Cool. So then we're going to go back to the main editor window. And down at the bottom where there's a content browser, we're going to start working on our user interface here. So the first thing we're going to do is stay organized. We're going to right click down there, add a new folder for UI. And that gives us a place to put our work. Here, we're going to right click, we're going to go to user interface, and then we're going to use a widget blueprint. And we're going to call this the HUD, HUD. And once we have that, then we can double click that, and now we have our window for editing our user interface. Here we've got it's a 1280 by 720 like default interface here. There's no device safe. This is not 1280 by 720. This is a 1080p like layout, like clearly. So it's got that there. And on the left here, there's a palette that allows us to see different elements that we can put into a user interface, right? So over here, we've got a canvas panel here, and we've got our in our hierarchy, and then up here we've got a bunch of different elements. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up the category called panel. There's a canvas panel, and then there's a horizontal box. So we're going to drag that into the hierarchy panel, let it go here. Now we have a horizontal box that's anchored at the top left corner of our panel display. Okay. And we're gonna do some things here to add in our stats. There's that. So we're going to add a label to this box, and we want to have inside of our navigation elements, we want to give it some like context for what we're doing. So we're going to have a player stats box here, and we're going to drag in all of our text here. So I'm going to search the stats here for a text box, and we want, let's see here, we want a text block. So what we're going to look for here is first in our horizontal box, we're gonna first we're gonna drag in a vertical box and a vertical box. We're gonna call one of these the player stats text, and then we're gonna call the other one the player stats bars. And then we're going to put inside of it two pieces of text. So we're going to look in here for text. We're going to put under the stats text, we're going to put a text block. We're going to call it health. We're going to put another text block here. We're going to call it stamina. And then we're going to have our stats bars. So we're going to look over here for bar. Going to have a progress bar. We're going to call this the health bar. And then we're going to drag another one in. We're going to call it the stamina bar. Okay. And so that should set up all of kind of our objects, right? And now we've got a bunch of stuff in our blueprint elements, right? So we've got our canvas panel here, got our player stats. We're gonna make that a bit bigger. We've got a text block, and then we've got a bunch of different things there. So here we've got an anchor for that. we can kind of move these things over and up. So we can rearrange things within a particular space. And then here we've got one and we can rearrange within a particular area. Here I think we want to put this where we have a vertical line on the right for our vertical bar. I'm going to bring out this horizontal bar all the way up there. We should see things work out pretty good. Okay. So now we're going to select this. Let's see here. Got our progress bar. We're going to change the size here from auto to fill. We're going to put, it's going to fill up half the space. And then on the other one, we're going to change this from auto to fill. And we're going to have it also take up half the space. So now we've got two progress bars that take up half the space there. We're going to have these kind of horizontally on the right for both of those. I'm going to put the stats block here, change it to fill so those end up on the right. And then we've got our text over there. Then down on each of these, we're going to change the appearance. So here, the health bar, we've got both of these kind of defaulted to blue. So we're going to change the colors to be, I'm going to do health is green. And here we've got blue there. Progress here we're going to do 100%. Health bar we're going to do 100%. Cool. And I think we want these up against the sides. We're going to do a right alignment here. Going to do that. So now we got those and those. All right. So now we're going to take this text block here. We're going to edit the text inside of it to stop saying text block. We're going to have it say health because that's what we're going to label. And then on the second one, we want to change this from text block to stamina. Cool. And so then we want to add in just a couple more things, right? So we'd like to have the ammo count and the the kill count go. So we're gonna look under the thing again. We're gonna add another horizontal bar to the panel. We're gonna move that down here. We're gonna make it a little bit bigger. We're gonna call this the. We're gonna move this into the canvas panel. We're gonna call this the weapon stats. And then we're in the wrong part of the hierarchy. No, we're in the right spot. Yeah. And then we're gonna add 2 more text panels to that under common. One's gonna be ammo. We're gonna add one more text box for cool. Yep. I get rid of that one. I don't think we need the count right away. Okay. So now what we do is we're going to save this. We're going to return over here to our example map. And we're going to find the first person character blueprint. So that's under here, first person character. Here we go. And we're going to do event begin play for drawing our new interface that we just created. So here, this is for these different things. It's weird that it's got one already for the heads up for the headsets. So it's already got one. I thought we could do multiples. Sorry, I'm just looking through our defaults here. Okay. Place a new mode here. We're going to add a create widget node. We're going to add a HUD. And that's really about it. I guess from here, we drag another empty out here, and we say add to viewport. There we go. So now we should see when we launch the game, the HUD. Got to compile. we've got an error on that. This blueprint is not a user widget. So oh, right. Gotta hook this up to there. Now hit play. And now our user interface is actually on the screen. So we've got, so how did that all go together? So when the game starts, we create our new class for the heads up display. We pass the execution on to this add to viewport, which adds it to the display, and we pass this return value on to it as well to kind of like add it into the interface. And then I just kept the wiring from before for the VR stuff. So this is kind of the event graph on that side. And then with the heads up display, we added in all these elements to a panel. We had one that was like player stats with the health bar and that, and then we had one that's weapons stats with the ammo there, and it was able to display all of these different elements with that. The way it kind of figures out how to do the layout of the thing is weird. So it will basically like try and fill it out with the elements. So like here we've got like 2 progress bars and it's putting them at like 50-50 size. But if I shrink this up right to here, then it looks a little bit more right in some way. Let's see here. So the next step that we've got to kind of do, right, is that we've kind of got these kind of like arbitrary labels and things in there. What we're going to want to do now is actually bind these to values. So here we've got our progress bar for health. And if we click bind, then we can click create binding. And it has this get health bar present and return node. So that's kind of how we do this. Here what we do is we do a get player character, not controller, character, right? So we do get player character, do that into there. And what we want to do here is have a cast to first person character, which kind of helps link together the different things. So I'm going to disconnect this return node for now. Here we're going to do this. We're going to do cast to first person character there. We're going to have that kind of come in through there. And then what we're going to do is take this right here, drag it to the return node, and then we're going to drag our as person character to there, to the empty space, and then we're going to get our variable. So we're going to say get player health. And there we have player health coming from this first person character. That player health then gets dragged onto the return node. So kind of convoluted in terms of like how much we have to do in order to actually get to the end there. But the basic idea is that we have our basic HUD. We have our player character. We're bringing those two things together. We're grabbing the value from that first person character that we get, and then we're returning it into the node. And so we're going to do that once for the health bar percent, and then we're also going to go into the HUD, and we're going to go to, where'd it go? We're going to compile that. Hit play. Got that. And then we're going to go back to the designer mode. And then we're going to click on the stamina. I'm going to change this back to 0. 0. And then down here, we're going to do the same thing for stamina. So we're going to do create binding. It's going to give us a new function here. We're going to disconnect those two things. We're going to do a get player character. Boom. We're going to take the return value. We're going to do cast to first person character. Going to drag that through. We're going to do the as first person character. We're going to drag this out. We're going to do get player stamina. Boom. Drag that pin over. Drag that pin over. And now we've got stamina as well. Cool. Cool. Now there's one step that like this isn't quite showing up right. So part of the issue is that it's not actually filling out the bar all the way. Like if we go here, we compile our thing, we hit play. So we've got our thing, but we don't have any, like the bar isn't like filling the screen. It's filling out like the middle of that third. Doesn't exactly seem right. So we got to figure out how to get that to stretch across the whole thing. So if we go back to the HUD, go to our designer, go to this. So that fill field tells it how much to fill up. Do that. But it doesn't seem to want to stretch this out. To fill that up. So let's just compile, play. We get that. Anyways. All right. So let's see if we can start to add in some text to this as well. So we're going to go back to the HUD. There's two views. There's the designer mode and the graph mode. We're going to click on our ammo field here. We're going to change our text, and we're going to create a new binding. We're going to do the same sort of thing. We're going to get the player character. Boom. We're going to do a cast to first person. So we're going to do return value, cast to first person character. Going to drag this to there. Going to do this to there. And we're going to do a little bit different thing here. So we're going to drag this out. We're going to say get ammo, get current player ammo. We're going to drag this out. We're going to do a to text box here. We're going to do to text integer, and we're going to take this return value and put it into this return node. Okay. And so in order to test this, we're going to have to actually decrease the ammo. So we're going to do, we're going to go down to the first person character blueprint again, which is open here. We're going to look for the actual shooting output. So we're going to look for the comment for spawn projectile. And so here we've got a input fire, got a montage play, which is the first person firing animation, got the spawn, the first person projector, and then down here at the very end we've got this play sound. So we're going to do, after it plays the sound, we're going to decrease the ammo. So we're going to take this right here, drag it out. We're going to do set ammo. We're going to do a new thing here for getting the current state of the ammo. So we're going to do get player current ammo. We're going to drag this out. We're going to look for a subtraction. So we're going to do a integer minus integer. There's also a decrement int. There's also a negate int. Those could also be used to do this. So here we'll have a minus. 1, and then we reset that to whatever that value is. Yeah. And that gets us our pattern to decrease the ammo count as we're playing. And so we should see here as we go is now you can go into the game world and you'll see that integer go down. So we've got 24, 23, right? 22, 21, 20. Now a big problem happens when you hit 0. You'll start to negative because we haven't put those bounds in for the game logic yet. So yeah, one thing we could do in order to do that, to fix that part, well, we'll talk about that I think in a second. But we haven't had anything to reduce the stamina or anything else. So there's kind of some interesting things here. So this chapter kind of like started the work of getting the interface in there, but didn't quite like finish it all the way. So I think that part of what happens with the book is also figuring out like what are kind of the polish steps that make this like an actually playable game. So I think I'm gonna take a little break. Been kind of like going through this, but then want to talk about like how we make this more polished and like what we do with all those variables so they can like change up, and then probably spend about 30 minutes on that, and then probably break pretty quick after that. So yeah, just 10-minute break, stretch, all those things. Yeah. Where's the progress bar?